In 1818, in the American state of Indiana, the couple John and Nancy Lincoln flee from a gang of zombies in the middle of the forest. In a moment of carelessness, Nancy is bitten on the arm, but her husband saves her and eliminates all the zombies with blows from his scythe. The next morning, the couple's son, Abraham, hears a gunshot and runs into the bedroom, where he finds his mother transformed into a zombie and tied to the bed. What's more, his father has put an end to everything, as he was unable to eliminate his wife and preferred to lose his life alongside her. Faced with this nightmare, Abraham is forced to end his mother's suffering, and using John's scythe, he removes her head. Decades later, Abraham Lincoln, now President of the United States, tries to deal with the chaotic state of the country in the midst of war. He is informed by his advisor Irwin that a group of Confederates have taken refuge at a strategic point, Fort Pulaski. 30 men from the Union Army were sent to investigate the site, but only one, Captain Eckert, returned. Abraham goes to meet him to find out more details, but finds the captain bound in handcuffs and with a pale face. The president soon realizes that he has been infected, but the man still retains some lucidity and claims to have found an army of zombies inside the fort. Everyone around them thinks it's absurd, but Abraham knows he's telling the truth and must act quickly. The president then orders a group to invade the fort and contain the infection, otherwise the entire American population will be turned into zombies. For the mission, Abraham chooses his trusted man, Major John McGill, who must recruit 12 soldiers and storm Fort Pulaski. However, before they can begin their plan, Captain Eckert also turns into a zombie, breaks free of his chains and escapes from his cell. Major McGill sets out to stop him and fires his gun at the zombie's body, but the shot does no damage. To the Major's misfortune, the zombie advances towards him and bites his neck, forcing President Lincoln to act. He asks for Irwin's sword and leaps towards the zombie, striking with the blade, but his opponent blocks his attacks with his arms. Then one of the soldiers throws the president's secret weapon, a retractable scythe, and with a single blow, Lincoln removes the infected's head. Despite the victory, the major was eliminated in combat and the president decided to lead the invasion of Fort Pulaski on his own. Irwin is against the idea, but Abraham says that, as the leader of the American people, he must protect them, even if it means risking his life. The next day, Lincoln gathers 12 of his most loyal agents and makes his way along the railroad tracks to the fort. As soon as they enter the site, it appears to be empty, but it's not long before the group hears the sound of gunfire coming to their direction. Quickly, Lincoln and his men take cover as best they can and an exchange of fire with the Confederate army begins. Suddenly, a zombie appears from the gate and attacks one of the agents, biting his face. Using his scythe, the president eliminates the creature with one swift blow, removing half of its head. Unfortunately, he is also forced to finish off the infected agent with one shot. This attitude leaves the rest of the group confused, but there's no time to lose as more zombies are coming through the gate. The president orders 2 of the agents to close the fort, while the group continues to exchange fire with the Confederation soldiers. The battle intensifies and the zombies seem to be immune to gunfire. The president then warns everyone to shoot them in the head, as this is the only way to eliminate them. As soon as they manage to close the gates, the group gathers in a safe place to decide what to do. The president tells everyone to split up in order to increase the number of targets for the snipers, as well as being able to invade the site in search of the soldiers captured in the previous invasion. Everyone follows the plan and one of the trio, led by Agent Chamberlain, enters one of the chambers and finds Confederate General Thomas Jackson. Despite being outnumbered, the general does not agree to surrender, but instead the president asks for his help to face a common enemy. He then reveals about the zombie infection and that if the zombies are not eliminated, the whole country will be threatened. The general, however, refuses to help because he doesn't believe this story and many of the victims are Confederates who just need medical attention. Despite the resistance, he allows the president and his men to stay temporarily, and they meet in a room to decide on the next step. Many of them are still skeptical about the zombies coming back to life, but the president confirms the story, telling of how he faced them as a child. However, they are outnumbered and the only way to stop them is to call for reinforcements. One of the agents, Alexander Pinn, suggests sending a message via the telegraph, located in a nearby station. The president agrees to the idea and calls Pinn and other agents to go there, while the rest must stay and protect the fort. Before leaving, Abraham warns everyone to avoid unnecessary gunfire, as the zombies are attracted to sound. With everything planned, the president and his men set off in the direction of the station, keeping quiet so as to remain unnoticed by the zombies. Minutes later, they find the station and Alexander, together with his colleague, John Booth, go in search of the telegraph. As soon as they find it, Alexander tries to activate it, but a horde of zombies appears next to him. He asks his colleague to help him, but it's too late and the guy gets bitten, while John shoots at them and runs off to find the rest of the group. Then more zombies appear and the president leads everyone to an abandoned house. However, as they enter one of the rooms, Agent Hopkins is hit by a bullet in the leg, which seems to have come from the floor below. Lincoln goes to the scene to find out who is shooting and, to his surprise, finds Mary, an old love from the past. The woman is with her daughter, Sophia, as well as two young people, Annika and Teddy Roosevelt, who have lost their parents and have been taken in by Mary. Once everything has been explained, Lincoln asks her to take care of Hopkins' wound, as they need to escape back to the fort. Mary agrees to help them and the president calls her to go together, as they will be safer there. Minutes later, with the bandage ready, the group leaves the house, where they find more zombies on the prowl. During the escape, one of them grabs Sophia and knocks her to the ground, but just as it was about to bite her, Agent Shaw finishes off the zombies and saves her. After that, the group makes their way to the entrance of the fort, but it is also filled with hungry zombies. Even so, they do their best to get through the gate, but Annika ends up being grabbed by one of the infected and bitten. Teddy gets angry and tries to protect her, but on top of the wall, Agent Brown appears and shoots the young woman before she too becomes a zombie. The boy can't accept the loss of his friend, but Lincoln forcibly takes him into the fort, along with the rest of the group. Although most of them have managed to escape, the situation is becoming increasingly critical and the president needs to make a quick decision. Seeing that there is no escape from the zombies, he tells the group that they must eliminate all of them, because that is the only way to stop the infection. General Jackson is still against the idea, so Lincoln asks him to go to the place where he keeps the prisoners. Once there, the president proves his point by seeing a Confederate general being held prisoner and having become another infected person. Lincoln also says that, as a child, he was forced to eliminate his own mother, who was bitten by one of the zombies. Until then, no one has known the origin of the zombies, but they theorize that it happened because of a macabre magic ritual. Since his first encounter with the infection, Lincoln has fought together with the people of his village to wipe out all the zombies. However, the evil has returned to the region, but this time it could bring about the end of the entire country. With the truth revealed, the president suggests collecting as much weaponry as possible and wiping out the zombies once and for all. He begs General Jackson to supply his arsenal, but the general again refuses, because despite everything, Lincoln remains an adversary in the Civil War. Nevertheless, one of the Confederates, Brad Kirk, decides to help, saying that there is a farm with tools that can be used to fight the zombies. Lincoln thanks him for his attitude and, shortly afterwards, summons his agents to accompany him to the place. However, most of them refuse to go because they don't trust the promise of a Confederate soldier. Fortunately, Mary and Teddy offer to help, which motivates the rest of the agents to take part in the mission. With the group assembled, the president and his allies leave the fort, guided by Brad. They manage to get past the zombies as quietly as possible and continue through the forest until they reach the farm, which is also infested with the infected. Brad warns them that the tools are inside the barn and they all do their best to get inside without attracting attention. Inside, they find all kinds of tools, which will be of great help in the fight against the zombies. After collecting everything, Lincoln leads everyone to the exit, but they come across several chickens, who are startled by the group and start clucking. The noise soon draws the attention of the zombies, who begin to advance towards the group. The president leads everyone into the forest, only to find the place surrounded by more zombies. Now that they are armed with sharp tools, the group sets out to attack, but one of the men ends up firing his gun, causing the noise to attract more zombies. To make matters worse, while fighting one of the monsters, the blood from one of them ends up splashing on Mary's face and hitting her in the mouth. Even so, she continues to fight the infected, but not even the group's efforts are enough to stop them all. With nowhere to run, Lincoln believes that this is the end of everything, until more agents appear in the forest and shoot at the zombies. Thanks to this, everyone is saved and rushes back to the fort, now with more weapons to defend themselves against the zombies. Unfortunately, Mary ends up being infected and soon begins to feel the effects spreading through her body. Lincoln promptly takes her in his arms to the bedroom, even though he knows she is beyond help. As soon as he leaves her in bed, Lincoln apologizes for having left her and that it was never his intention. Mary forgives him for this and asks him to keep her condition a secret from Sophia, as she needs to be prepared for the battle to come. Another day passes and the president once again tries to convince General Jackson to help them. Faced with yet another refusal from him, one of his soldiers, named Pat Garrett, agrees to help the president and gives him a map of the fort. With this, the president gathers everyone together and puts together a plan to eliminate all the zombies. He also stresses that if anyone in the group is infected, they must be eliminated or the lives of the others will be at risk. Everyone complies and, together with Sophia, Teddy and the other agents, Lincoln goes through the gate and gives the signal for the zombies to be eliminated. Now that they don't need pistols to attract attention, the group eliminates the zombies, one after the other, with blows from machetes and axes. After much confrontation, the zombies around the fort have been eliminated, but it is necessary to make sure that there are no more of them around. The group then sets off to hunt down the rest of the zombies, while John Booth remains at the fort, under Lincoln's orders, to look after Mary. However, the guy soon leaves her alone in the room and returns to the prisoners' room, where he finds the zombie general trapped in his cell. John soon recognizes him as General George Hanslet and reveals to him that he is also a Confederate. He infiltrated the Union group with the aim of eliminating President Lincoln and bringing victory to the Confederacy. After telling all, John also confesses his admiration for the general and loosens his chains, believing that he is still human. In response, the zombie tries to bite the man, but John quickly pulls out his pistol and shoots him. Back with the group, Pat Garrett and Agent Hawkins find a building, with several zombies around the garden. The soldier suggests finishing them off right there, but the agent refuses, saying he won't take suggestions from a Confederate rival. He even threatens to shoot Pat if he tries to resist, but the soldier responds by punching him in the face and the two start fighting. However, the exchange of punches is short-lived, as the zombies begin to advance towards them, forcing Hawkins to flee. To the man's misfortune, he runs onto the tracks, just as a train is passing through the area. Hawkins tries to flee, but ends up tripping on the tracks and is wiped out by the locomotive. As for Pat Garrett, he takes refuge inside a warehouse, only to find more zombies surrounding the place. What they didn't expect was that the soldier is an expert gunman and, in just a few seconds, finishes them all off with his revolver. Far away, Chamberlain and Barton shoot at the approaching zombie, but are soon surrounded and try to hide inside the mansion. Inside, they run towards the attic and Barton jumps up the ladder. Chamberlain is next, but he is soon surprised by a zombie, which bites his arm. The agent repels the attack with gunfire, but his ammunition runs out and he asks Barton to throw down his gun. However, when he sees that his colleague has been bitten, he refuses and pulls up the ladder so that no one else can climb up. Chamberlain is enraged by Barton's attitude, but is soon surrounded by zombies and tries one last attack with his axe. As expected, he is soon defeated by the zombies' horde, becoming yet another victim, while Barton sets off to find a way out of the attic. Shortly afterwards, he finds a window leading to the roof, but as he tries to climb out, the man slips and falls all the way to the ground. The fall dislocates his foot and he finds himself surrounded by more of the zombies coming towards him. Preferring to lose his life than become a zombie, Barton puts an end to everything with his gun, becoming another casualty in the group. Now all that's left is Abraham, Sophia, Pat and Teddy, with the president putting the boy on his shoulders so he can shoot the zombies over the wall. Even so, more of them begin to appear and the trio decide to retreat before they are surrounded by the infected. Hours later, they manage to return to the fort and Lincoln goes to the cathedral to pray for the souls of the agents eliminated in the confrontation. At that moment, John Booth appears and tries to eliminate him right there, but when he sees the president in prayer, he gives up at the last moment. Even so, he promises that, when the time is right, he will finish off Abraham Lincoln and give victory to the Confederates. Later, Abraham goes to see Pat Garrett and congratulates him on his courage and his skill with weapons. He also asks if Pat wouldn't like to become a politician in the Union group, but the soldier says he'd rather finish his mission and go west with his family to live as a cowboy. The president accepts his decision and goes to check on Mary, but she remains in bed, increasingly weak from the infection. With her remaining strength, she insists that Lincoln convince General Jackson to help him, otherwise they won't be able to face the zombies on their own. Pat Garrett thinks so too and goes to talk to the general, asking him to make the right decision. Even against his will, Jackson accepts the request and calls the president to show him the fort's secret compartment, which is full of barrels of gunpowder. With this, they will be able to destroy the zombies in one fell swoop, and so Lincoln's hopes are renewed. Everyone then comes together to put together a plan of attack, which consists of luring the zombies into the fort and blowing them all up with the barrels of gunpowder. To do this, they put the bodies of the soldiers in the secret compartment to serve as bait. Then General Jackson appears on top of the wall and, with his bugle, he plays a song that echoes throughout the place and attracts the attention of all the zombies. In just a few minutes, the zombies are approaching the fort and the agents open the gates to let them through. At the same moment, Mary, Sophia, Teddy and Hopkins take refuge in a secret tunnel to protect themselves from the explosion. Finally, the zombies begin to invade the fort and the president stands in front of them, attacking them with pistol shots and his scythe. With that, he lures everyone towards the warehouse and then lights the fuse so that the barrels of gunpowder explode. As soon as they get enough distance, Lincoln and the rest of the group wait for the explosion, but nothing happens. None of them expected that a zombie would end up stepping on the fuse, extinguishing the flame and interrupting the explosion. Because of this, the president offers to go to the depot and blow everything up, but General Jackson decides to do it himself. Since most of the zombies were members of the Confederacy, the general decides to sacrifice himself with his people and save the country from an even greater evil than the Civil War. Lincoln realizes that the general is an honorable man and, as well as handing him a torch to light the wick, salutes him in respect for his rival. General Jackson then walks through the narrow, zombie-infested corridor until he reaches the room with the barrels of gunpowder. Despite being devoured by the horde of zombies, the general manages to light the fuse and a huge explosion begins to destroy the fort. Seeing the fire spread, Lincoln, along with Agent Brown, jumps down the rope and lands safely outside. Finally, the zombie threat is over and Mary, along with Sophia and the others, come out of hiding and find the president safe and sound. However, the plan only worked thanks to General Jackson's sacrifice and, on learning that he has been eliminated, John Booth leaves and blames the president for yet another loss. Despite this, Mary congratulates Lincoln on his victory, but says that he still needs to eliminate one last infected person. On discovering the truth, Sophia cries and asks for her mother to be spared, but as there is no time to find a cure, Lincoln carries Mary in his arms, carrying a gun, to give her a dignified end. A week after the zombie attack and the destruction of Fort Pulaski, the president calls a meeting to honor the soldiers' sacrifice. Even so, the Civil War continues and he asks the American people to stand firm in their search for peace. After his speech, Lincoln goes alone to a secret farm, where he meets Dr. Malinoff. It is then revealed that the president was unable to eliminate Mary and left her hidden there until a cure could be found. While looking after Mary, Lincoln reveals that he has discovered John Booth's real intentions and his plan to eliminate him. Because of this, he keeps a constant eye on the guy and promises that nothing bad will happen. However, in the middle of the conversation, Mary ends up grabbing Abraham's arm and squeezing it hard. Because of this, the president is forced to shoot her with a pistol, but even so, Mary has transmitted the infection to Lincoln and soon, he too will become a zombie. With no time to lose, the president orders the doctor to send an emergency letter to John Booth. As soon as it's delivered, he's delighted to discover that he's been assigned to eliminate Abraham Lincoln, as well as having the president's location written on the letter. When evening comes, Lincoln, his wife and son go to the theater to see a play. As history would reveal in the future, it was there that John Booth shot Lincoln. But little did he know that he was doing exactly what the president wanted. Finally, after his wife and son enter the theater, Abraham Lincoln observes the place that will be his end, knowing that his sacrifice will prevent a new zombie infestation. So what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below. And if you liked the video, like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you next time.